everyone, it's Linnea for LDRS Creative, and this video is all about the HSN Fairytale Garden Card Kit. I have a separate video that details going over all of the items in the kit as well as all 15 cards that I made with this kit. But this video, I'm going to show you how to make 5 different cards, and I'm going to use each of the 5 different die cut toppers so that you can see an idea with each of these different little fairy tale houses. I'm going to start easy and simple, and then we'll kind of zhuzh it up a little bit as we go. So this first card here, I have an A2 card base and then one of the A2 patterned background toppers. I chose just the stripes. These are just gorgeous and timeless. All I'm going to do to finish this card off is add my die cut frame, the one with the little scene on it, and then I'm going to add a die cut sentiment. I'll add each of these to my card with some foam tape for instant dimension, and that's really all there is to it for this card. I wanted to show you how simple it is to use this card kit if you don't want to bring in any additional elements from your card stash. Now you'll see I'm going to show the finished card after I have it all adhered, and I'll have a finished card photo, and you'll see that I did add some additional elements. For example, I added some glossy accents to the windows on the house, and then I also have added some enamel dots just here and there to kind of add some extra interest to the card. So here's the card, finished in literally minutes. You could make this as easy and simple as you want, or if you want to, like I did here, you could add some enamel dots just here and there around your card. Now here we're going to bring in some extra elements. I have a background pattern paper and then a distress pattern paper, and we're also going to be bringing in some of the rub-ons in just a minute. So I'm going to start by adhering the background paper to my A2 card. I'm using some liquid adhesive and I'm just going to place that right down on my card front. Easy peasy, nothing new and unusual here. Then I'm going to take that distressed card topper and I want to show you how to easily layer these together. All of the colors and patterns are beautifully created to go together. So I'm going to take this distressed topper and chop off a 1/2 inch on the long side and a 1/2 inch on the short side to create a little border when I pop this onto that plaid background. Now let's play with the rub-ons. I'm keeping the sheets together. There's a solid backer sheet and then the top acetate sheet that has the printed rub-on onto it. I'm keeping both of those together, and I'm using my scissors to cut out my desired image. And I'm just going to cut out that teapot, and then I'm going to grab a couple little fairies too. The fairies are so small and dainty and just absolutely add the most perfect finishing touch to these fairy tale garden scenes. Once I've picked out my images, I'm going to go ahead and remove that backer sheet, then place the acetate down where I want my design to transfer, and then just rub over this image with my bone folder. The LDRS Creative rub-ons are of the highest quality, and I have never had rub-ons that transfer as easily as these do. I'm just again removing that backer, rubbing over that whole image, and then I'm going to peel back that acetate slowly and carefully just in case I missed a spot. But check this out, 2 little fairies and that teapot added to my scene really helped to round out this fairy tale garden topper. Now all I'm going to do is just adhere all of these elements together, including my die cut sentiment, and I'll add some foam tape behind each of them to add some dimension. You can add your sentiment wherever you want, down at the bottom, up at the top, kind of hanging off to the side. I'm going to go ahead and just put it at the bottom for now. Now again, here it is as is, but you'll see a picture in just a moment where I added glossy accents again to the windows and doors, but also to the cups. Anywhere that appeared glass-like, I added that glossy accents just to add a little bit of a finishing touch to my card. Just like that, we have 2 cards done with this gorgeous kit. Let's go ahead and go to the third one where I wanted to show you how you can take these papers and kind of chop them up a little bit to stretch them even further. I'm taking this distressed background with the words on it, and I took it over to my paper trimmer, turned it so that it was slanted, and just chopped it in half-ish. There is no measuring here. I just wanted 2 pieces that were about the same size. And now you can see how when you layer this over, you get this nice diagonal design. It's just very pleasing to the eye. And you can use either way that you want. You can use the words on the top or on the bottom. I liked it on the bottom, so that's what I'm going to use. And then that top piece I can use for a totally separate card. So this card kit says that it makes 15 cards, but if you stretch your stash and kind of bring things in and chop the papers up just a little bit, you can stretch this so that it makes even more cards. When I have two pattern papers overlaying each other, I like to add just a finishing strip, so I have cut just a piece of brown cardstock down to about between 1/8 and 1/4 of an inch, and I'm going to have that layer right over top of my background paper just to add that finishing touch. Now let's add some rub-ons. I noticed that they had some flowers that were kind of curving to the left and to the right, and I thought that these would be really pretty if I placed them above the house. There's some printed on this scene already up at the top left, so I thought it would be pretty if I added these ones to the bottom, and that would kind of create that visual circle going around the house. I thought it was a really nice finishing touch. Then I'm also going to add some of the little fairies here and there, as well as some additional flowers over to the left of the house. I'm making sure that I'm keeping a space open for where I want to put my sentiment strip, and I'm keeping the backer paper on my rub-ons for now so that I can move them around and play with them as if they're ephemera pieces. Once you peel that backer off, these are going to stick to your project. So keep that backer on until you have decided exactly where you want your pieces to go. Once I've decided, I can go ahead and pick up those rub-on transfers, remove the backer, place them down, and then I'm just going to rub over with my bone folder. Then I'll peel back that acetate nice and slowly so that if I've missed an area, I can go back and press it down further. But these transfers truly transfer absolutely beautifully, and I didn't have anywhere where I needed to go back and repress that image down. I'm going to go ahead and go in with the flowers on the left side of the house now. I think that just kind of rounds out the design a little bit. And then I'll also add those little fairies here and there. Now I'm just putting my card together. I have layered my kind of that sentiment piece that we chopped in half on the diagonal. I've adhered that to my brown background. And then I'm just adding that finishing strip of that gold cardstock right on top of the pattern paper. I added a thin line of glue. I cut it longer than needed, and I can just flip that over and trim off the edges. And then I pulled in some gold foil cardstock from my stash, and I actually added that to my A2 card base so that I can pop everything up on top of this gold. The gold looks really pretty with the browns in the background. So here's how I'm going to layer everything together, and once I'm certain of where I want things to go, I'll go ahead and back everything with foam tape and get that adhered down to my card. Here's the finished product without any extra embellishments added, but just like with the other ones, after I had this all pieced together, I did decide to go back and just add some things here and there from my stash. So I added some glossy accents to the windows and then to that large cake stand in the back. Anywhere that should have some shine in real life, I added that. I'm going to show you another way to kind of stretch things and make them not exactly like they are in the kit. These die-cut toppers, if you have them as they originally are, you can't really use them landscape style, but I really wanted to, so that would give me some extra playroom with where to put my sentiment. So in order to do that, I'm going to take one of these die-cut toppers and chop off the bottom. Hold your breath, it's gonna be okay. I just kind of put this in my paper trimmer, and I'm lining up where that little notch is that connects the little swoop on the side with the bottom, and I just cut that off right at the bottom. So instead of going into that bottom swoop, it's just flat. And now you can see that it fits perfectly on a landscape style A2 card. I have that cream colored distressed background that I want to have in the background of my card, but then I wanted to add a strip along the bottom to not only create a ground for my card, but a grounding element for my card. Whenever you have something here, it just kind of, it would be floating, and I don't want anything to just be floating in midair. So if I add a strip of this pattern paper, this checked paper to the bottom, it's going to ground my whole card, and it just makes your brain happy with how the card looks. Again, I'm not measuring. You can see me here. I lined up about how much I want to show on my card, and I pinched my fingernail into my cardstock and just kind of visually looked at it and said, okay, yep, that's how much I want. And it ended up being about 1.5 inches. And so I'm just going to cut off the portion of the cardstock that I want to show, and then I can add that on to the bottom of my card. Before I go ahead and adhere everything down, I wanted to add some additional rub-ons to my card just to kind of, you know, it's not a fairy tale garden without fairies, so I definitely need some fairies, and I'm going to add some things here and there. Again, I'm keeping my rub-on transfer sheets together, that backer and the acetate top sheet that has the printed rub-ons. I'm keeping that together, and I'm cutting out the design elements that I want to add, and then I'm going to remove the backers and rub them onto my card. I thought about adding some flowers and some other things, but in the end I decided to just add the 2 little fairies. So I removed that backer, rubbing over it with my bone folder, and then I'll peel off that acetate top sheet and repeat with the second little fairy. Once my rub-ons are transferred, I can go ahead and start putting my card together. So I have that distressed background panel adhered to my A2 card. Here's that green plaid that I'm going to put at the bottom. I added that with some liquid adhesive. And then my other elements I'm going to add with foam tape. I thought about adding a separating strip like I did with my last card where the 2 patterns match, but as you can see here, it wouldn't really show because the die cut house and then the sentiment pretty much cover up that whole bottom, and so I thought that it did the work for me. Finished off this card by adding some green gems that match that pattern paper at the bottom, and that's all done. Alright, here we are on our last card, and I wanted to show you another way that you can use these pattern papers. I really wanted to add a layer to this die cut topper, but I don't have any dies that looked good with this. It didn't look good just on a rectangle. I thought that it would cut too close, so I decided to just create my own frame for this. I used some tape runner adhesive and just added a little bit to the back and temporarily stuck this down onto this green distressed paper. Then I'm using my scissors and I'm just going to fussy cut around, and I know it might seem intimidating, but it's really not hard. This was a pretty simple shape to cut around. And I'm using my scissors that I'm most comfortable with, and I'm turning my paper instead of turning my scissors. So if you notice, my right hand, my dominant cutting hand, is staying pretty much in the same position, but my left hand is turning the paper. My left hand is doing all of the work. My right hand is just kind of moving those scissor blades up and down. And so I'm turning my cardstock rather than turning my scissors, and that is the #1 tip I have for you for fussy cutting. I'm just creating an even border, as much as I can, an even border around this die cut element to create a frame using that green distressed paper. Now, as I'm coming around here and finishing it off, I realized that the left or the right side of my card it had a bigger border than the left side, so no problem. I'm just going to kind of go up and shift that over and just do any finishing little fussy cutting to finish this up, and then I'm going to have a nice even border that goes all the way around that die cut shape, and it looks like it's supposed to be there, not something that we took 2 minutes to add to the card. Here's my idea for the rest of this card. I really loved this kind of lace looking background, but again, I like to add something to ground my cards. So I cut just a little bit of my white cardstock to add to the bottom, and then I have a piece of brown cardstock that I tried to color match as best I could to the border around my little topper here. Then I'm going to have the sentiment here and there, wherever. There's so many places that you can put it. I ended up down at the bottom again. That seems to be my go-to place for adding sentiments. I just happen to like it there, but you could add it up at the top if you wanted to. Now again, before I get this all adhered down to my card, I want to add some rub-ons onto my topper, onto that little scene. So I cut some fairies out, and I'm going to position them up to the right and left of that orange tree. Now, something that I didn't show in this video but kind of goes along with the technique in this card is that if you want to, you can transfer these rub-ons onto white cardstock and then fussy cut around them to create die cut embellishments. I don't know if I would do it with the fairies. The fairies are quite small, but the other elements, the flowers and the little teapots and such, they are amazing as die cut elements. I even have another video on the LDRS Creative YouTube channel where I show all 15 cards that I made with this kit, and I use that technique in a few of those cards. So here's my finished card 5. I just added those fairies and then added everything to my card with foam tape. And in the end, I added some enamel dots here and there, and then I also added glossy accents to the glass-like elements on the card. Let's take a peek at all 5 of my finished cards, starting with the first one, the most basic, where I just took a background paper and added some elements on top. Then I kind of cut down those papers and showed you a few different ways to layer them up. Then I also showed you how you can alter the toppers, those scenic toppers. And then this last one creates your own frame for the card. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that this video has inspired you and that you have fun creating with your Fairytale Garden card kit. Don't forget to check out the other video I have in this playlist that shows off all 15 cards so that you can get even more inspiration. I'll see you soon. Bye!